You see the roses, you see the chocolates, the hearts are just everywhere. We all feel like we know Valentine's Day, right? It's the sweetest, most commercial day of the year. But what if I told you that hiding right underneath that sugary surface is a history that is way stranger, way darker, and honestly, way more fascinating than you could ever imagine? Let's dig in.
On the surface, it seems so simple, doesn't it? A day for love. But the holiday we all celebrate today, that's really just the top layer. It's like the most recent coat of paint on a very, very old and, frankly, very weird canvas. Its real story is hidden right out in the open.
And this idea right here is the key to understanding all of it. The idea of a palimpsest. You see, history isn't just one clean story. It's layers of stories, all written on top of each other. And sometimes, if you look really, really closely, you can still see the faint outlines of the older words, the ghosts of what came before.
So that's the big question, isn't it? What exactly is written on those hidden layers? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going on a little archaeological dig, peeling back the layers of this holiday, one by one, starting with the familiar and going all the way back to its wild, ancient roots.
Okay, so let's start with the layer that we all know best, the one we're living in right now. I'm talking about the explosion of commercialism in the 19th century. This is where the Valentine's Day of cards and candies, the one we all recognize, was really born.
It really boils down to two genius innovations that created the blueprint for modern love. First, get this. In the 1840s, a woman in America named Esther Howland starts mass-producing Valentine's cards. Suddenly, anyone could send a beautiful, pre-made romantic thought. Then just 20 years later, a guy named Richard Cadbury has the brilliant idea to sell his chocolates in heart-shaped boxes. And boom, that combination, it was absolutely unstoppable.
And just look at where that led. Today, in America alone, we spend over $20 billion a year on this holiday. So that commercial layer isn't just a part of the story. It's a massive, multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's all built on the foundation of those cards and chocolates.
So, where did we even get the idea to connect this one specific day with romance in the first place? Well, let's peel back another layer. You might think it came from a saint or some great lover from history, but the answer is going to surprise you. It was a poet.
This line right here. This is pretty much the invention of romantic Valentine's Day. Back in 1382, Geoffrey Chaucer wrote this, which basically means this was on St. Valentine's Day, when every bird comes to choose its mate. He was the very first person to ever link the two ideas, all based on this old belief that birds started to mate in the middle of February. It was just a poetic little detail that completely changed history.
And Chaucer's idea, it totally caught on. Just a few decades later, in 1415, we get this incredibly powerful moment. Charles, the Duke of Orleans, is locked away as a prisoner in the Tower of London, and from his cell, he writes a poem to his wife calling her "My Very Sweet Valentine." And that right there, that act, it established the tradition of a Valentine being a personal, private message of love.
Okay, but who was Saint Valentine? You know, the actual guy the day is named after? Well, this is where our historical dig gets really murky. Because when we actually look for the saint at the heart of the story, what we find is pretty much a ghost.
And here's the core of the whole mystery. The Catholic Church actually recognizes at least 3 different saints named Valentine, and they were all martyred. There's one from Rome, there's another from a town called Terni, who might actually be the same guy, and then there's a third from Africa, and we know literally nothing else about him. The patron saint of love is basically a historical blank space.
And you know, when history has a vacuum, a powerful story tends to rush in to fill it. The legend goes that a Roman emperor banned young men from getting married because he thought it made them worse soldiers. But Valentine, a priest, defied the emperor and performed secret weddings anyway. It's a fantastic story. The only problem is, historians are pretty sure it never actually happened.
But the legend doesn't stop with the secret weddings. Oh no. While he was in prison, Valentine supposedly became friends with his jailer's daughter. And on the night before he was executed, he wrote her one last letter.
And there it is. You see the power of a good story. That iconic phrase that we see on millions and millions of cards today, the legend says it comes from the farewell note of a dying saint. Whether it's true or not, that's the emotional heart of the whole thing. All right, now we're going to dig deep. I mean, all the way down to the bedrock. This is the oldest, the deepest, and by far the weirdest layer of our palimpsest. Because before there was a saint, before there were any poets, there was a wild Roman festival of fertility. It was called Lupercalia, and I need you to forget everything you know about romance. We're talking about priests sacrificing goats, then young men, half-naked and covered in blood, running through the city, whipping women with strips of the goat hide. And the women would actually line up for this, believing it would make them fertile. It was loud, it was public, and it had everything to do with the community's survival and absolutely nothing to do with couples falling in love.
And this is where you can really see the faint traces of that original writing on the palimpsest. The public festival focused on community fertility gets rewritten over time into a private celebration of individual romance. The wild public lottery to pair people up becomes the very personal, very private choice of a partner. It's a total transformation happening on the very same spot on the calendar.
So we've dug through all the layers. We've seen the commerce, we've seen the poetry, we've met the ghost of a saint, and we've been to the pagan rites. Now it's time to put all the pieces back together and see what we've really found.
And here it is, our entire archaeological dig, all mapped out. You can really see how each era just adds its own layer, writing over whatever came before, but never totally erasing it. We started with chocolates and cards and dug all the way down to a wild Roman festival. Every single one of these steps was crucial for creating the holiday that we have today.
And, you know, that's the real treasure here. It isn't finding one single simple origin story. It's the palimpsest itself. Valentine's Day isn't just one thing. It's a chaotic fertility festival, and a solemn martyr's day, and a courtly love poem, and a multi-billion-dollar industry, all happening at the same time. The history is still there, hidden right inside the holiday.
But here's the most important part. This story isn't over. From pagan rituals to a prisoner's poem to mass-marketed cards, every single generation has reshaped this day to reflect its own ideas about what love is, which, of course, leaves one final question. As we write our own layer on this ancient palimpsest, what will our story of love look like?